Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. I'm going to jump in to this tractor and I'm going to get going on the mowing, or at least attempt to. I've not tried to mow this yard, so I don't know for certain if it's going to work. If it doesn't, I'm going to have a bigger problem. I don't know why it shouldn't, but there's always that possibility, so I want to allow for the opportunity to be wrong. Alright. So I need to get my 2 mowers here. That will get me all set with my very large capacity. You know, I could... no, we'll go ahead and start with cow pasture. I was gonna say I could go ahead and use the pig pasture that has no animals in it, but the animals aren't really in the way the game works, so no reason to worry about that. Alright, let me open up the gate so I can get in here. So here we go. That one cow just got up. He saw us pulling in. He's like, I want no part of this. I wish they would get out of the way, but they really don't. It's just nice to pretend, right? You know, but the thing is, I should be able to use both of these areas. It'll be interesting with this, because this, I think, is really the field boundary, is that little group of grass. I'm just curious if it's going to let me mow that or not. So let me unfold. Get these mowers fired up. Not sure why they're not moving. Interesting. Do I not have enough horsepower? That would be very disappointing. So that in fact is the case. The back mower takes 250 horse and the front one takes almost 100, so this should take care of it, because this will do 435, so we should be good here. So now that I've got myself set, I'm not going to really be able to get around behind that slurry pit, but that's okay, or manure pit. I'm terrible with these items. I don't know exactly what is what. But good news is I can mow. Bad news is I constantly have a problem with being able to tell how far away I am from fences, but this should solve that. There we go. Hopefully I won't just repeat the problem here. Again, I don't have to get every last square inch here, so I suppose I can just be a little bit more forgiving of how close I am to things. But I can go ahead and get this done. Now, for those of you who choose to perhaps use this map or something like it, be aware that by default Courseplay won't recognize this field or this space, so I'm unable to set a Courseplay course. Now I should be able to draw a route around. You know, I know you can, you can go ahead and, at least you used to be able to in 19 record your paths. So yeah, I think if I do that, there you go. So you can see, so you can basically kind of create your own course. So I could go ahead and do that. And let's see what happens when we hit the edge. Oh, it does just mow it. That's good. It didn't come up with a different color, so I'm not worried about that. But you can basically set this edge, and then I think once you have that, you can go ahead and do something within it. So I may play around with that. I'm certainly going to do that off camera, because it might be ugly and it might take some time, and I probably will just abandon it. But, you know, one of the things, obviously, this is a pretty wide process. Same thing with tedding and windrowing. I think I can get around the field, you know, relatively quickly. I mean, you go at 14 miles an hour, it's not as time-consuming as the other tasks on the farm. But the goal here will be to get some material for the cows so that we can begin to keep feeding them. But what you used to be able to do with Courseplay is then once you kind of closed off the edge, you'd have that as your boundary, and then you could basically tell the create job function to use that field boundary. So you can see here where we've got some hill with this lower horsepower, or kind of coming up on the horsepower limit, where I've really got about less than 100 horsepower to spare. You know, it has a bit of fun up that hill, but at least we can do it. But even if I need to run this field by hand, you know, I don't think it's going to be that terrible. And I'm going to have to determine then if I want to take the other field with where the pigs would have been and use that as well. So let me get around the field here a bit, and I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so you can see on the map here, I've got this custom border now. And then I can go ahead with the field position marker, and you can see I've picked that, and I'm able to generate a course, as you can see. So I just have it doing one headland, and the other thing was, like, I set this border in this second row, so I don't, for example, really have the edges of the field entirely. So it's not a perfect solution, but this was more just an attempt to make sure I could do this. So this should go ahead and mow this up. So I'm going to go ahead and let that run. We'll see if by the end of the day everything's done. Now, I think I'm going to have a challenge with things like the trough in the center. I'm probably going to have to play around and get around that for the feeding trough. But other than that, I think that this should hopefully work pretty well. Just wanted to let folks know that's how you can handle this situation if you have it, you know, on this map or some other one. Just kind of do your border. It then asks you at the end if you want to save it. You can save it as a custom field, and then you can use it going forward. So I'll see you in a bit. So getting to the point where the mowing is just about going to be finished. I've definitely had to intervene several times. It's struggling against the fence here, although I think as it starts to turn now it'll be okay. And you can see there's, you know, in turning around and then moving forward, it's getting a little bit stuck on things. We'll see what happens here. My guess is it's going to sit and wait as it has been. And I think this is because of the proximity of the fence. So yeah, I had to intervene again, turn it around, get it moving. I may fix this up in the future. I'll have to see how much this goes ahead and fills things in. But I wanted to get on to start chatting about kind of further thoughts of how I'm going to progress and what I'm seeing. You can see basically the pig piece is up here. I'm just not sure that it's worth intervening because at best it's 25% of what I've got. So I'm just not sure that it's going to be worth the effort to run that little bit. I think it'd just be best to let this grow and just use this as my grass supply. But then as far as producing things, if I go here into production, you can see we've got the fermenting silo that is there, where I can take grass and turn it into silage. And then in the fields product factory, that kind of handles everything else I'm going to need. You know, and I can also put grass in there and create silage, so I may just do that, although the cycles per month are significantly faster here. So I think I'll take advantage of that to just stay ahead on the silage. You know, I can then take the silage out, but I can put grass in here and convert it to hay, because here you can see I need hay and silage to create TMR. You know, I think what I'm going to do then is put grass in here, and basically run hay and haylage, and then combine these to create the TMR. So I'm going to go ahead and activate these You know, but the nice thing with this is the ability, if I've got other products that I suddenly feel I can create things from, you know, I can go ahead and do that as well. So I've got this a little bit to get done. Certainly, you know, it's only 7:30, so just starting to get late in the day. Again, it's May, so it's nice in that I have some good daylight. It's not getting dark at 4:30 or so forth. Guessing again, this is probably going to be a little too tight, but we'll see if it can handle it on its own. Doesn't look like it can. So yeah, I'm certainly going to need to do some adjustments if I'm going to try to use this in the future, or I'm going to have to be manually working through this all the time. Let me finish this up, and then as I'm windrowing, because the nice thing is I won't have to ted this material since I can create hay. I'll just have to windrow to collect it and then go ahead and drop it into my 2 facilities to start continuing to be prepared to go ahead and feed the cows. The point here is, you know, I'm still 361,000 liters of feed for my cattle, so I have no immediate need. So I'll be here in the morning, going ahead, getting going on the windrowing. See you then. Alright, so getting going early here this morning. I figured I should start acting like a farmer until I, you know, maybe get some time to relax, but clearly this farm, being as large as it is, takes some effort, and so I don't want to, you know, sleep until 8 or 9 a.m. and blow 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and grab the windrower. I did check my horsepower requirements, and I'm good. I'm 175 on the tractor and only needing like 115 or something on the windrower. Circle around here. I'm going to see if I'm going to be able to get this to work with Courseplay. I've redone the boundary, and so I think I have everything set. So you can see I've also renamed it Green Pasture. I also found a way, I didn't realize you could draw a custom field just directly on here, so it's a little different than what it was in FS19. Alright, so I'm going ahead here. Gonna see how this works. Obviously, it's gonna be a little bit messy. I let it go ahead and do rounded corners. Once again, I may get so much material off the field here that it doesn't matter. So to try to give myself enough room to turn and not have the same problem I was having with the mower, I've gone ahead and given myself 3 headlands here. Now I did run the boundary kind of right along the fence as much as I could with a tractor driving along, so I felt that was a better way to do it than try to draw on the map, because you can't see the fences on the map. You know, it just made it a little bit cleaner that way. I'm hoping to get a good amount of grass and get a good head start here. And once again, this, you know, isn't as fast. You know, it's only 10 miles an hour. Wow, we're going to leave a lot over there. You know, and it'll just be a matter of, do I want to manually clean that up or do other things, I guess. I don't know. So I think if I had tried a sharper path, it might have worked. So I did have the game hang up when it was trying to generate a Courseplay course, but I'm not sure what setting it was. I didn't try to recreate the failure again, because at one point I had it bypass islands, because as I thought with the mower, I had some issues with the trough and the fence up there, the feeding trough and the water point. Yeah, kind of the water point, I think, is what I'm calling it, the water point. Whether it's water or not, I don't know. Is that little red piece up there in the middle of the field? That I was able to basically just drive over. But the fence definitely got hooked on things and so forth, so I'm assuming the same thing's going to happen here with the Windrower. It's just a matter of, you know, how challenging that will be. So it does seem to at least get kind of far enough over. Well, maybe not any longer, so we are leaving little tufts here and there. Once again, probably not worth worrying about. It's just out there and it'll be okay. But, you know, I didn't know if those would get treated as islands, and therefore, you know, might be a better approach to see if I could have Courseplay go around them, because with something this big and this kind of disjointed, the mower worked. You know, it kind of hit the corner and then had to drag itself through until it was able to do it. So that's how I was able to mow as closely to that fence line as I am showing. But yeah, but I did run the lines like into the corners so that I could do better routes, so forth. When I tried to start this up once, you can see kind of I've got like a circle up there where the Windrower decided to come in from a different direction and then start. So those are some of the quirks you sometimes get with Courseplay that you've got to either live with or just work around. So what I had done is I stopped and then repositioned myself manually and then started up the Courseplay route again, and that seemed to work. You know, the good news is we're not getting hung up at this point. Bad news is obviously with this curved corners, it is just leaving swaths. I mean, that's got to be thousands of liters that I'm leaving on the field, so I'm probably... It'll really depend on what I pick up from the center, because if I end up with, you know, a million liters somehow, which I can't imagine I'm going to end up anywhere near that amount off this field. But, you know, then I would be like, well, this just isn't worth the effort. So now it's moving over to the second headland, and so it'll clean up those little pieces, and now I shouldn't have a lot of leftover. But you can see probably the headland passes won't be a problem, except maybe with that red trough over there. So those might get really, really close, if not get caught. And once again, I would imagine the Windrower is just going to bounce over that, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to go ahead, continue to move this along. It's going to take a bit of time either way, as you can tell. And once I'm done windrowing and ready to start picking up grass, I'll get back here. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I'm trying some stuff I've not done before, but I'm trying to basically keep moving along. You can see the Windrower up there. So it's getting its third pass done, but my thought was, given that I've got automated workers here, to get going and get both jobs taken care of as soon as I possibly can. So I've gone ahead, I think, and copied the Courseplay course from the Windrower over here. So I'm going to set this to first waypoint, and we're going to go ahead, and I would think then it will start me up at the start of that row, and then I can be collecting grass and taking it to places as this continues to operate. So let's see. The good news is it appears to be working, so that is marvelous. So you know, we'll see how quickly we get this collected up and how quickly we get a full amount. But the benefit of this, and I've certainly used something similar to this in FS19, again, I just haven't done it here, and I've also used it with the same implement. I haven't moved from one to the other, so I've had maybe either multiple harvesters or so forth, or, you know, or something like that. So this was a first for me to move it to another vehicle, but if I can just put the same course here in the machine in the GPS or the Courseplay unit, then I can just follow the same track, even though the working width, obviously, for this is very different, because otherwise if I generated a Courseplay route for this configuration of equipment, it would be much longer and much more time consuming, and it wouldn't need to be. So I like what I got here. I'm not quite sure when the Windrower is going to pick up and actually start doing anything with other windrows. Okay, so there we go. The tank is full. So 50,000. All right. Whoops. That was bad. Let me get out of the way, because I don't want to mess up one thing of automation that I have going on to create a problem with another. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to put this in the... Which one do I want to put it in? Because I think the silage thing is slower, but I think the only way I create hay is with the field products. So I think that's the slower one. The fermenting silo is faster. So, you know, I need to get hay and then I'll be good. So let me put that in to that location. I think I can leave this gate open at this point, because I had closed it initially so that the equipment wouldn't collide. Good news is I can see the little circle on the field still moving. So the fermenting silo is that one, and then this is to the left is the field products. So, can I fit in here? Now that I look at this, this doesn't look very promising. No. Well, that's going to make things interesting. But, you know, I can work around it. I can improvise. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back in the trailer. So I'll come in from this side and we'll dump some things in. You know, but the challenge will be, as far as quantity and, you know, do I want to pick up every last bit and so forth, is how much work this will really take, because, you know, I can have a couple million TMR in the other location. Alright, so if I do this, and now go to my production, there we go. So I'm creating hay, so I've already got 366. So, wow, this is like going really fast. It's supposed to be 864 cycles per month, but so I thought that would mean I would get 864 liters in a day, you know, in the month of June. But it looks like it's going to be substantially faster than that. So let me think this through. It's 1 for 1, and then here it's 1,000 and 1,000, and then I'll be good there. You know, and once I have the hay, like, it's there, so I don't have to move it, so that's the other benefit there. I mean, that's the other thing. Theoretically, I could just dump this in, and then it'll just start creating TMR. So maybe I'm rethinking, because if it's that fast, I mean, look at that. It's already got 5,000 liters of hay. So, wow. So yeah, what I may want to do then is just kind of change my plan, and I might not use that fermenting silo at all right now, which is okay. I mean, it was equipment that was here on the farm, and, you know, if I determine it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Alright, so now I'm going to change this to last waypoint, and what that should do is exactly this, that where we stopped, is where it'll pick up, and many times that doesn't work really well. So I tend not to use that, but in this case I think it'll work exactly as I need. So you can see that lines up nicely. We're picking up again, so it's all perfect. We're gonna get some really weird little windrows there in the center, but it's kind of the nature of the beast. But, you know, I was kind of joking that I'm not going to get 1 million. Given that we just went down one little piece of the field and we got 50,000, and probably by the time I get up to where the Windrower is now, I'm probably going to be at another 50,000. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, obviously, we've got a lot of short rows there that it's going to take a while to pick up. But, you know, the nice thing with this is it'll just go ahead and do it, and I don't have to sit there and drive it all the time and so forth. So this is definitely, you know, a series. I think, you know, if you haven't figured out by now, I've made the decision to be very much automated. You know, I do like using Courseplay for things, and so I think that's what I will be doing here. So, you know, I just want to be transparent with that, so that people aren't surprised of what the situation is. Couldn't have timed that any better. It was done. I'm in the way. I need to get out of the way, but that worked. But yeah, what I think I'll do then is if I switch on, so let me do this, because then that will divert things. So I'm going to activate the grass silage as well. You can see we've already got 62, 135. So, you know, it'll be slower, but the thing is that as it's doing that, it's going to be creating silage and creating hay, and then it's immediately going to turn around and turn that into TMR, which is ultimately what I need right now. So if I can do this way, like, this will be like the epitome of efficiency. I love finding elegant solutions to things. Like, this is probably the coolest farming simulator efficiency thing I've come across, that I've used in any of my play. So, you know, I basically got something that's just, as you would hope, on a farm of this scale, that is just running at a pretty high level. And you can see we've already got now 6,500 TMR, because things are just plowing through, and we're going with that now. Interesting that it thinks it has solid fertilizer here, because that's in my other location, I think. That's over there. But, I don't know. Alright, so that's what I'm going to be doing. The question now, it's the only question left, is what's it going to look like and how much am I going to have? Because the intent is to generate TMR. And so the nice thing with this, whoops, I don't know what I hit there. Oh, a tree. It's not a bush, because a bush I think we would just run over. But probably a good idea to plant those there so that you don't just run into the pole, which would be a little bit more problematic. So, alright, I'm going to have to keep an eye on my Windrower, because now I'm getting close to, yeah, the next pass is when I'm going to hit the trough, so maybe I'll stick around till then. So let's see here. I want to do this, do last waypoint. So this should just jump right in. I'm going to jump in here because, yeah, you can kind of see what's going to happen. We're going to hit this side of the fence with this thing, and that's just going to be messy. So it has stopped. So at 9:18, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to lower these because I'm going to want to, what I probably want to do is, let's see, start that up. We'll get these, and I'll stay close. And what I'll probably do is I'll just make a circle around this so that I have this for the most part done. And then I'll worry about what I need to do. But, you know, this is kind of how I end up solving the problem. So you can see that's kind of what I had with the mower, where it was just hitting. Alright, so it looks like the nice thing is I can then just kind of ignore this side of things. So let me stop spinning so that I don't create a bigger problem for my pickup later. But then what I can do here is I can kind of go there, and then here is what I normally do, where I do nearest, and I knew I was at like 900 something, so I know 923, I think I was at 918, like that's, I'm right back on the line there. And so I saw that this one had become full. So you can see we haven't even finished one windrow yet, or one headland around with the windrows, I should say. And I'm already at 150,000, so we're going to have a lot off this field. But that's all that's left. I'm going to have to kind of play the games that I just showed there, getting things around some obstructions. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. And as I said, from an efficiency standpoint, super happy with what I've got, because this is going, I can't even tell you the amount of effort this decreases. And so, you know, finding that the production buildings I have allow me to streamline this in such a way, pretty exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and basically I'll just pop back in at the end to let you know what the quantity is. But that's what I'm going to call this current episode of Mega VIP. So I'll see you in a bit. 3 p.m. here, and I'm bringing my last load of grass over to the field production silo. So field product silo, I think, is what it's called. It's been busy moving along, and we'll take a look at approximately where we ended up, because obviously it's a working production, so things change every few seconds, but we can, you know, make a pretty good estimate of where things sit. Of course, you know, as I talk here, I've been backing up actually quite easily. I've been surprised with how simple this process has been, but of course I kind of make a mess of it in my last run here. So let's take a look. So you can see, obviously, the grass is in, hay and silage being made in the interim, and then TMR. So we're coming up on 500,000 liters of TMR. As you can see, we can get quite a bit more than that in there. But, you know, we're obviously, given that this is a 1-for-1, you know, 2,000 liters of product makes 2,000 liters. So we've got 60,000 there, plus another 30. So let's say we have another 100,000 or so. We're going to end up between probably 500 or 600,000 liters of TMR off of that field, the way it sits. So I would say overall, that works. Now I did clean up the one really large corner. I spent a little time doing that manually. I got maybe 10,000 liters off of that. So in the grand scheme of things, it probably can be left alone and not really worried about. But I'm pretty pleased with the results of the grass work coming in. I did, in the interim, also run around and take a look at my crops, which obviously are what we're really focused on next. So as a reminder, we're looking for canola and barley to get our level 1 orders going. And then we'll have to move forward after that, you know, and we can see here hay and grass, so I'll probably start working on that next, given that with the next load of grass when it grows, because grass grows pretty quickly. So I think in 2 or 3 days we'll be able to cut grass again, and basically what I can do is store things in this silo and just have hay running in some cases until I get to 360,000 liters, and then store up grass. But I'm likely going to need a couple mowings to fill this need, but that's really not that terribly bad. And in the interim, the cows doing what they're doing are creating milk and slurry, so everything's moving along pretty well. We've only got one crop in the next batch of corn that I'm going to have to worry about, and then oats after that. So what I may end up doing, especially again once I see what my harvest values are, if I get this off the fields, this may just be my next 2 fields of crop, so that I can satisfy level 2 and 3, and then obviously once we satisfy level 1, the VIPs will let us know what they need going forward. So looking at the crops, I've got 3 or 4 months till the field just south of here is going to be ready. The other one is going to take a couple more months, but I'll be able to get that one going. Obviously then I'll probably plant that with corn, just so that I can get things continually moving along. But for now, I think we've got ourselves a pretty full set of work that was done, and I'll see you next time.